My beloved child, discipline is a lamp placed along the road to help you walk steadily. But if that lamp is placed in the hands of those who lack mercy, it can become a flame that frightens you instead of giving light. I did not create you to live under laws as cold as stone, nor did I call you into the path of holiness so that your heart would be suffocated by the feeling of always falling short. There are people who speak in the name of righteousness, yet forget compassion. They know how to draw boundaries, but do not know how to bind wounds. They know how to point out mistakes, but do not know how to lift the fallen back to their feet. They know how to demand outward order, but fail to recognize the light still quietly burning within someone who is trying to grow. I want you to understand that life needs order, restraint, and training, but all true training must serve life, not imprison you in fear. There is a kind of severity that appears moral, yet slowly draws you away from holy joy. It makes you think I only love you when you make no mistakes, that I am pleased only when you do everything correctly, and that I draw near only when you prove yourself worthy enough. But my child, that is not the voice of the Father. I correct you because I love you, not because I despise you. I shape you so you may become freer, not so you may live with your head bowed beneath the shadow of shame. When discipline comes from me, it can touch what needs to change, but it does not crush your dignity. It awakens you, but it does not steal your hope. It calls you to grow, but it does not force you to pretend to be perfect. What comes from me always carries the fragrance of truth and grace together. If there is only condemnation and no path of return, you must pause and discern. Long ago, when a woman was dragged before Jesus in shame, the crowd stood around her with stones in their hands and the law upon their lips. They looked at her through the lens of accusation, failure, and one exposed moment of defeat before many people. But the Holy One did not look at her as the crowd did. He did not deny what was wrong, nor did he call darkness light, but he placed mercy in the very place where people only wanted punishment. In that presence, the hands holding stones slowly released them, not because sin had become insignificant, but because the pride of those who condemned was brought into the light. Then that woman was given a new path, not a path to continue living in the old wound, but a path to rise in grace and step out of what had imprisoned her. Do you see? I do not use grace to nourish weakness, but I use grace to open the door to true transformation. Therefore, do not confuse freedom in me with a life of carelessness, but also do not confuse holiness with an iron cage of fear. True freedom is not doing whatever you desire. True freedom is no longer being controlled by what is wrong. True discipline does not bind you to dryness. True discipline helps you choose what brings life. A garden needs a fence, so the flowers will not be trampled, but if the fence is built so high that sunlight cannot enter, the flowers will wither. So it is with your life. You need principles to protect what is precious, but you also need gentleness in order to grow. You need someone to remind you, but you also need someone who knows how to pray for you. You need correction, but you also need to believe that you can still become better even after you have stumbled. There are guides who are very skilled at speaking about standards, yet they do not know how to listen to the heartbeat of a weary heart. They may place burdens on your shoulders that they themselves do not help you carry. They may make you afraid of every step, every decision, even of coming near to me, because you begin to imagine that I am as coldly severe as they are, but I am not like the voices that make you shrink back. I am a merciful Father, and I know that maturity does not come in one night. I see your hidden battles, the times when you want to do what is right, yet still feel weak, the times when you fall and try to rise again, the times when you remain silent and endure so you will not wound someone else. I do not measure your worth by one moment of failure. I look at the journey, the sincerity, and the courage within you as you continue turning back toward the light, though darkness once wounded you. Remember that outward perfection may deceive many people, but it does not deceive me. A well-ordered life without love is still a cold house. A correct word without mercy can still become a blade. A person who has never exposed a mistake but is full of pride is not nearer to me than one who has stumbled but knows how to repent, learn, and love more deeply. I am not seeking polished vessels that impress the crowd. I am seeking vessels willing to let me pour healing oil into them, even if they have cracks, even if they have passed through fire, even if they trembled in seasons no one understood. The light within you is not extinguished, simply because you are not yet fully mature. If you still grieve over what is wrong, still long for what is good, and still know how to return when you hear my voice calling, then grace is still working within you. I want you to learn discipline through love, not through the whip of shame. Pray not to prove you are holy, but so you may be near me. Keep an upright way of life, not to receive praise from others, but so your heart will not be scattered. Speak truth not to defeat someone else, but to build what is right. Lay down what is harmful, not because you hate yourself, but because you know you are worthy of freedom. When discipline is born from love, it becomes gentle yet strong. When discipline is born from fear, it becomes heavy and easily exhausts you. I do not want you to follow me with a darkened face, like a child always afraid of punishment. I want you to follow me with reverent love, knowing that the Father's hand is strong enough to keep you from the abyss, and gentle enough to wipe away your tears. If anyone has ever made you believe that you only have value when you never make mistakes, today I remove that word from you. If anyone has ever used harsh standards to make you forget my mercy, today I call you back to a purer truth. You are not allowed to use grace as an excuse to remain in what is wrong, but neither are you allowed to let old mistakes define your entire being. Forgiveness does not erase responsibility, but it opens the possibility of beginning again. Grace does not lower the standard of light, but gives you the strength to walk toward the light without being swallowed by despair. I do not merely command you to change. I give you the warmth, support, and time needed to change in truth. So live with order, but do not lose tenderness. Keep your heart pure, but do not become cruel toward yourself. Listen to correction, but do not bow before voices that only know how to condemn. Learn to admit fault, but also learn to receive forgiveness. Train yourself each day, but do not forget that you are loved throughout the process, not only at the destination. I am teaching you a more balanced path, where discipline lifts you up instead of pressing you down, where truth heals instead of shattering you, where grace does not tolerate darkness, but also does not abandon the one seeking a way out of darkness. My beloved child, let me lead you by the hand of a father. In my hands, principles become a fence of protection, forgiveness becomes a cool stream, and your growth is no longer a race to become loved, but the peaceful journey of one who has already been loved before learning how to rise. My beloved child, letting go is not a sign that you have lost, nor is it proof that you are weak or not persistent enough. There are things you have tried to hold with all your strength because you thought that if you released them, your life would fall apart. But I want you to understand that sometimes the very hand gripping so tightly is what keeps you from receiving what I have prepared. Surrender is not collapsing in disappointment, but bowing the heart in trust. It is the moment when you stop trying to control every outcome, stop carrying a role that only the Redeemer can bear, and begin to enter the higher rhythm of my will. You were not created to live in constant tension, as though the whole world would collapse if you did not personally keep everything standing. I am your Father, the one who knows the end of the road from the moment you take your first step. Therefore, when I tell you to lay something down, it is not to take away your future, but to bring you into the true future. There is a story you must keep in your heart. Long ago, Abraham had to place upon the altar the very thing most precious to him, the thing he had waited for so long. The child of promise was not only the joy of his old age, but also the sign of everything God had spoken to him. Viewed through human eyes, offering that child seemed like an incomprehensible loss. But in the moment he lifted up his heart in obedience, he did not lose the promise. He was led into a deeper understanding of the one who gave the promise. I want you to see this. What you place in my hands is not destroyed, but discerned, purified, and restored to its rightful place. Abraham did not come down from the mountain as an empty-handed man. He came down with the knowledge that the one who had called him was also the one with power to preserve what belonged to the covenant. So it is with you. When you dare to place upon the altar your plans, relationships, fears, ambitions, and even the things you think you cannot live without, you will not become impoverished. You will become free. For a long time you have grown used to carrying burdens by yourself. You have become accustomed to thinking ahead for everyone, worrying on behalf of every circumstance, gripping every door, every promise, every opportunity, every connection, as though you were the only one responsible for saving everything. But my child, no one can live in peace while trying to sit in the place reserved only for me. You can love, you can pray, you can do the work entrusted to you, and you can be faithful in what is right. But you cannot change another person's heart through pressure, cannot rebuild what I am allowing to close, and cannot rescue a path. Have warned you does not lead to life. When you try to become the savior for yourself or for others, you will become exhausted, bitter, and disordered. But when you return the right to be Lord back to me, you will learn the holy lightness of one who knows they are being led. What I desire from you is not giving up, but letting go in the light. Giving up is often born from disappointment, but surrender according to my will is born from faith. Giving up says, everything is over. Surrender says, I don't yet see everything, but Father, you see. Giving up causes you to turn away in pain, but surrender causes you to kneel in trust. You must discern the difference, because the enemy loves to disguise surrender as failure so that you feel ashamed when you lay down what I no longer want you to carry. It wants you to believe that if you leave a wrong connection, you are not loving enough. If you abandon a plan that does not belong to my will, you are not brave enough. If you stop before a door of unrest, you have missed an opportunity. But I speak to you with mercy. There are moments when stopping is wisdom, moments when returning is victory, and moments when letting go is the first step of destiny. Look back at the seasons in which I have preserved you. There are things you once wept over because you could not keep them, but later you understood that if they had remained, they would have pulled you away from peace. There are doors you once knocked on until you were weary, yet I did not open them because behind those doors there was not the blessing you imagined. There are people you thought you could not lose, yet their departure created space for me to heal, teach, and restore you. My will often does not arrive in the form you expect. It may begin with silence, separation, emptiness, or a season when you can no longer control every direction. But do not fear the emptiness in your hands. Empty hands before me are not abandoned hands. They are hands ready to receive what is right in the right time, from the right source, for the right purpose. The destiny I have for you is not built through force, nor is it upheld by the fear of loss. What comes from me does not require you to trade away purity in order to keep it, to live in deception in order to protect it, or to break yourself apart to prove that it is worth having. My will is more beautiful than plans built from anxiety, wider than dreams born from comparison, and more enduring than any path drawn by human hands in a moment without peace. I do not lead you through chaos. I may lead you through trials, but even within those trials, there is a hand upholding you. I may prune what you love, but that pruning is meant to make you fruitful, not wither you. I may ask you to wait, but that waiting is not a prison. It is a room of preparation, where you are shaped to become deep enough, steady enough, and humble enough to enter what is greater. Therefore, do not take busyness as proof of faith, nor control as the measure of responsibility. There are times when the holiest action is to stand still before me. There are times when the most beautiful prayer is not long, but simply a small whisper. Father, I give it back to you. When you say this with your whole heart, a new order begins to form within you. Burdens that do not belong to you will lose their power to crush you. Cords born from fear will loosen. Decisions once covered by emotion will begin to be illumined. You will no longer run in circles, trying to fix, trying to hold, trying to prove, trying to please everyone. Instead, you will learn to walk more slowly, yet more firmly, less loudly, yet with greater authority, less pulled by outward pressure, yet nearer to my calling. I know letting go can hurt, especially when that thing was once tied to hope, memory, and the words you quietly believed. I do not take your tears lightly. I do not tell you to lay something down as though it has no value. I only want you to understand that not everything precious is permitted to remain forever in your hands, and not everything you love belongs to the road ahead. Some seasons are given to teach you, not to define you. Some people walk with you for only one stretch of the journey, not all the way to the promised land. Some dreams must die in their old form, so I may bring them back to life in a way that is purer, more beautiful, and more aligned with the purpose I placed upon you. When you surrender, you are not stripped of honor. You are freed from the burden of trying to master what is beyond your strength. Today, I invite you into the rest of a beloved child. Open your hands before me, not with bitter resignation, but with gentle trust that your Father never leads you into nothingness. Let me touch the places where you still grip tightly because of fear. Let me remove from you the need to know every answer immediately. Let me teach you that destiny is not something you seize through anxiety, but a path you enter through obedience. What I desire for you is fullness, goodness, purity, and something higher than the limited calculations of human understanding. When you release what no longer belongs to me, you do not lose the future. You make room for the true future to enter. Trust me, my beloved child. The more your hands open in faith, the more your life is placed into the flow of a higher will, where surrender is no longer defeat, but the doorway that leads you to the very place I called you from the beginning. My beloved child, not every heaviness you carry can be explained by what your eyes can see, and not every delay, confusion, or weariness in your life comes only from outward circumstances. There are battles that take place more quietly than the wind, more secretly than midnight darkness, yet their influence touches the way you think, the way you pray, the way you see yourself, and the way you continue walking in the calling I have placed before you. I do not say this to make you afraid, but so you may be watchful in peace, my little child. If you look at everything only with natural eyes, you will easily blame yourself, blame others, blame time, or think your life is only facing random inconveniences. But I want you to understand that there are chains that cannot be removed by your own strength, strong walls that do not fall through complaining, and old cycles that do not disappear simply because you try a little harder. They must be faced in the light, entrusted into my hands, and broken through faith, obedience, persevering prayer, and a heart that no longer compromises with darkness. Remember that the enemy rarely comes with a loud roar at the beginning. It often enters through small things, a thought that seems harmless, a gentle delay, an unhealed wound, a word that makes you doubt my love, a connection that slowly pulls you away from peace. It does not always make you fall in one day. Often it only wants you to drift slightly from the path I am leading, until when you look back, you realize you have stood far from the place where you were called. Therefore, I teach you not to despise the small signs within your heart: persistent unrest, dryness in prayer, heaviness when drawing near to what is holy, a strange attraction toward things that once caused you to stumble. These things are not meant to condemn you, but to call you back to me quickly, like a child running into the arms of a father when thunder is heard in the sky. I do not close the door before you. I myself am calling you back to safety. Long ago, when my people stood before Jericho, that wall did not fall because they were stronger than stone, nor because they knew how to conquer it by human strategy. They had to walk in strange obedience, quietly circling the city, and keeping faith even when no sign of change could be seen. Each circuit seemed meaningless, but in the unseen realm, obedience was cracking what had been fortified. Do you see? There are walls in your life that are the same: lingering fear, old habits, silent condemnation, memories that make you shrink back, feelings of unworthiness, and unexplained stagnation. You may look at them and think they are too large, too old, too solid to fall, but I speak to you in love. What has stood for many years can still fall in a moment when you place your trust in the right place. Your task is not to break every wall by yourself. Your task is to follow me, keep your heart pure, remain steadfast in the light, and let my power do what your strength cannot. Yet you also need wisdom, because this battle is more subtle than you think. It does not always appear in the form of obvious suffering. Sometimes it clothes itself in what seems reasonable, familiar, even comforting. Anger may be called self-protection. A wrong relationship may be called comfort. Laziness may be called rest, and silence, born from fear, may be called peace. My beloved child, I want you to discern by its fruit. What comes from me may correct you, but it does not crush you. What comes from me may lead you through refining fire, but it does not make you lose hope. What comes from me brings you nearer to truth, love, humility, and courage. But what comes from darkness often leaves behind confusion, pride, despair, suspicion, division, and a desire to hide from the light. Look at the result, and you will know from which source that stream is flowing. There are strongholds built in the mind with very old bricks. A word that once wounded you, a failure that made you ashamed, a time of abandonment, a season of prayer when you thought I was silent. The enemy uses what has not yet been surrendered to me to build a closed room, then whispers that you must live there forever. But I am your Father, and I did not create you to remain in the prison of the past. I come not only to wipe away your tears, but also to open the door so you can step out. When you bring hidden things into my light, their power begins to weaken. When you name fear instead of covering it, you no longer allow it to rule you. When you forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you no longer want to be tied to the wound, a hidden cord is cut. When you pray even before you feel strong, heaven still hears your voice as the voice of a child seeking the way home. Do not be surprised if at times the battle becomes so quiet that you think nothing is happening. Many of the most dangerous attacks do not make you fall immediately. They only make you grow cold gradually. They cause you to miss one prayer, then one day without seeking me, then 1 week when you no longer hear my voice clearly, until you begin to become accustomed to that distance. That is why I do not call you only to be strong in moments of crisis, but also to be faithful in the small things each day. A sincere morning prayer, a decision not to answer with bitterness, one refusal of something you know does not belong to the light, one moment of silence to hear me before reacting. These are all small stones placed upon the path of victory. Do not despise hidden faithfulness, because many great doors are opened by very small keys. I know there are days when you are tired from fighting what no one else can see. Others may only see your silence, but I see you trying to keep your heart tender. Others may think you are slow, but I see you untangling burdens that have weighed on you for a long time. Others may not understand why you need to leave certain places, keep distance from certain people, or stop certain habits. But I understand. You do not need to explain everything to those who were not assigned to lift you up. Some separations are protection, some closed doors are mercy, and some silences are places where I restore your strength. Let me teach you to fight without becoming hardened, to be watchful without living in fear, to discern without suspecting everything, and to be strong while remaining gentle. Therefore, stand firm in my light. Do not chase after darkness to understand it more than necessary. Draw near to me, and darkness will lose its power to blind you. Do not feed fear as though it were your guide. Let my truth lead you step by step. Do not believe that it is too late for you, for my hand can still restore what seems lost. From today on, guard the door of your heart with peace. Guard your words with wisdom. Guard your steps with obedience, and keep your eyes fixed on me. The battle is real, but you are not abandoned in the battlefield. I go before you, I am with you, and I stand behind you like a steadfast fortress. Chains that do not belong to you will be removed. Strongholds that oppose the holy purpose I placed upon your life will not stand forever. Hold my hand, my beloved child. In my presence, even the most subtle works of darkness must be exposed, and wherever my light shines, you will recover the freedom I prepared for you long ago. Do not be surprised if at times the battle becomes so quiet that you think nothing is happening. Many of the most dangerous attacks do not make you fall immediately. They only make you grow cold gradually. They cause you to miss one prayer, then one day without seeking me, then 1 week when you no longer hear my voice clearly, until you begin to become accustomed to that distance. That is why I do not call you only to be strong in moments of crisis, but also to be faithful in the small things each day. A sincere morning prayer, a decision not to answer with bitterness, one refusal of something you know does not belong to the light, one moment of silence to hear me before reacting. These are all small stones placed upon the path of victory. Do not despise hidden faithfulness, because many great doors are opened by very small keys. I know there are days when you are tired from fighting what no one else can see. Others may only see your silence, but I see you trying to keep your heart tender. Others may think you are slow, but I see you untangling burdens that have weighed on you for a long time. Others may not understand why you need to leave certain places, keep distance from certain people, or stop certain habits, but I understand. You do not need to explain everything to those who were not assigned to lift you up. Some separations are protection, some closed doors are mercy, and some silences are places where I restore your strength. Let me teach you to fight without becoming hardened, to be watchful without living in fear, to discern without suspecting everything, and to be strong while remaining gentle. Therefore, stand firm in my light. Do not chase after darkness to understand it more than necessary. Draw near to me, and darkness will lose its power to blind you. Do not feed fear as though it were your guide. Let my truth lead you step by step. Do not believe that it is too late for you, for my hand can still restore what seems lost. From today on, guard the door of your heart with peace. Guard your words with wisdom. Guard your steps with obedience, and keep your eyes fixed on me. The battle is real, but you are not abandoned in the battlefield. I go before you, I am with you, and I stand behind you like a steadfast fortress. Chains that do not belong to you will be removed. Strongholds that oppose the holy purpose I placed upon your life will not stand forever. Hold my hand, my beloved child. In my presence, even the most subtle works of darkness must be exposed, and wherever my light shines, you will recover the freedom I prepared for you long ago.